Hello everyone, before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. You think you can just walk in here? The sentence didn't just land, it rang, sharp enough to slice through a ballroom full of crystal laughter and polished shoes. Under chandeliers that looked like frozen fireworks, the crowd shifted as if a single body, drawn by the sound of conflict the way a flame draws air. At the center of it stood Aaliyah Monroe. 39. Composed. Unapologetically present. Her dress was a clean, sculpted yellow off-shoulder, elegant, fitted like it had been made for her alone. It didn't scream for attention, but it stole it anyway. Her hair fell in long, dark waves, and the chandelier light caught on her earrings whenever she moved her head by even a fraction. She wasn't rushing. She wasn't pleading. She had walked into the crystal ballroom the way the ocean enters a room, quietly and with certainty. Blocking her path was Daniel Han. 41. Black tuxedo. The kind of grooming that said he measured his worth in reflections. His face was tight with a confidence that didn't come from power, only from being used to being believed. He stood too close, one hand lifted, index finger pointed toward her chest as if he could physically push her dignity backward. "This is a private event," Daniel said, loud enough for strangers to turn into witnesses. "Invited guests only. Not, whoever you are." Aaliyah's eyes stayed steady on him. She didn't blink fast. She didn't shrink. She didn't ask what he meant, because she knew. The room knew too. That subtle shift in the air when people decide what story they want to tell themselves about someone they've never met. Behind Daniel stood another man. Older. Taller. Built like restraint. He wore a black suit as crisp as a blade. A faint tattoo climbed from his collar toward his jawline, visible when he angled his head, like a warning he didn't have to speak. His expression didn't change, but his gaze moved like it was cataloging exits, threats, and lies in real time. Joon-Seo Kang. 45. People whispered about him without knowing anything real. In certain circles, his name was followed by a pause, by lowered voices and quick glances. Korean Mafia boss, some called him, the way people label what they don't understand. The truth was, he rarely corrected anyone. He didn't need to. Fear was a rumor that fed itself. But tonight, he wasn't a rumor. He was simply there, a step behind Aaliyah, letting her take the front position like it belonged to her. Daniel leaned closer, lowering his voice the way men do when they want their cruelty to feel private. "This isn't some diversity photo op," he murmured. "You're embarrassing yourself." Aaliyah felt the memory hit like a small sting years ago, a cheap networking mixer, fluorescent lighting, Daniel's laughter when she said she worked in finance. His words back then had been casual, like a joke he expected everyone to share. "You don't look like money." She remembered walking out of that room with her cheeks hot, her throat tight, her future still invisible to people like him. Now she stood under chandeliers. And Daniel's laughter didn't feel powerful anymore. It felt desperate. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Aaliyah. Aaliyah spoke, and the softness of her voice made people lean in. Calm has gravity when it's real. "I'm here for the Founders Circle meeting," she said. 9:15. Marianne Voss confirmed. Daniel's mouth curled. "Marianne?" He let out a short laugh, bright and mean. You think saying a name gives you entry? His gaze dipped to her dress in a way that tried to turn elegance into accusation. The old trick, make her feel like she's performing, like she's pretending. What are you? He said, louder again. Someone's plus one? Staff? He paused, letting the implication hang like poison. Higher? A ripple of discomfort moved through the crowd. Not enough to stop him. Just enough to prove they understood. Joon-Seo's eyes sharpened. A single step forward, quiet, controlled, shifted the balance in the space. Not a threat. Just presence. The kind that made people remember rules exist. Aaliyah didn't turn to him. She didn't need rescue. She needed the room to show its true face without her forcing it. She reached into her small black clutch, minimal, expensive, unbranded, and pulled out a matte invitation card. Black with a gold crest. Clean edges. A QR code on the back. She held it out. Not begging. Presenting. Daniel didn't take it. He stared at it like it had dirt on it. This is a gala for donors, he announced, letting his voice travel. Not for people who walk in wearing a pretty dress and think they can cheat their way inside. Aaliyah held her hand steady, invitation still offered. Scan it, she said. Or call Marianne. Daniel's smile turned sharp. Oh, I'll do better than that. He snapped his head toward the entrance security team, two men in dark uniforms standing near the stanchions. Professionals. They'd seen enough to know when a scene was about to become an incident report. Security, Daniel said, loud enough that conversations died mid-sentence. She's not on the list. Remove her. Remove. Not ask her to step aside. Not verify. Not clarify. Remove like she was a stain. Aaliyah felt ice press into her shoulders, her bare collarbone, the line of her back. Her posture didn't change. Inside, her mind was cold and clear. If I raise my voice, they'll call me angry. If I cry, they'll call me weak. So I'll do neither. The guards approached. One lifted a hand in a half gesture of professionalism. Ma'am, can we see your invitation? Aaliyah extended the card. The guard reached. Daniel stepped in and pushed it down with two fingers, as if swatting away something inconvenient. Don't waste time, Daniel said. She's not supposed to be here. The guard hesitated. His eyes flicked between Daniel's entitlement and Aaliyah's stillness. He could feel it too, this wasn't just about policy. It was about who gets to be believed without proof. Aaliyah looked at the guard, not at Daniel. Scan it, she said calmly. And please note in your report who ordered you to do what before verification. That sentence did something. It didn't fight. It didn't beg. It documented. The guard swallowed. Yes, ma'am, he said quietly, then lifted his radio. Check in, I need a scan on a VIP card at the main entrance. Daniel's confidence flickered. Just a crack. The check-in attendant, a woman in her 30s with tight professionalism and nervous eyes, took the card and scanned the QR code. The tablet loaded. It paused. Then flashed an error. I'm not seeing it, the attendant murmured, trying again. Daniel's laugh came too quickly. Because it's fake. Aaliyah's gaze didn't shift. You're scanning the general guest portal, she said. Founder's Circle uses the VIP backend. The attendant froze. We don't have access to that. Daniel leaned in, speaking over her shoulder like he owned her space. Then we're done here. The guards moved subtly closer, preparing to escort. Not violently. That was the point. Humiliation often comes wrapped in civility, so no one feels responsible for it. "Ma'am," the older guard said, voice lower now, "we need you to step to the side while we verify." Aaliyah stepped once, controlled, measured, refusing to give them a moment they could label resistance. The crowd opened like a corridor, faces turned into mirrors of reaction, curiosity, discomfort, entertainment disguised as concern. Phones rose higher. Aaliyah could feel the recording lights like tiny eyes. Daniel walked alongside them, satisfied, speaking like he was narrating her downfall. "This is what happens when people think confidence equals entitlement," he said to anyone near enough to hear. "They try to force their way in and then play victim." Aaliyah kept her gaze forward. Her dignity wasn't fragile. It was trained. Joon-Seo followed behind at a respectful distance, hands visible. He wasn't chasing. He was witnessing. The room watched him too, some recognizing him, others only sensing the caution he created without saying a word. At the doorway leading out of the ballroom, Aaliyah stopped. The guards halted, surprised by the stillness. She turned her head slightly toward the older guard. "Before you take me anywhere," she said, "I'd like your name. And I'd like you to log that I requested verification in contact with the event director." A pause. Then, quietly, "Ramos," the guard said. "Security supervisor." "Thank you, Mr. Ramos," Aaliyah replied. "Please bring Marianne Voss to me. Right now." Daniel stepped closer, face tightening. "You don't get to make demands." Aaliyah looked at him like he was something she'd already outgrown. "I'm not making demands," she said. "I'm preserving a record." Daniel's eyes flicked past her, to Joon-Seo's tattoo, to his stillness, to the way he didn't need to posture. Fear slid into Daniel's expression like water finding a crack. Joon-Seo spoke, finally, low, controlled, almost polite. "Call the director," he said. Daniel scoffed, but his voice thinned. "And who are you supposed to be?" Joon-Seo didn't answer him. He lifted his phone and made a call. Aaliyah heard only two words from him, quiet, Korean, precise. "General Manager." Daniel's jaw clenched. The crowd leaned closer, as if the room itself was trying to hear what would happen next. Footsteps approached. Fast. Heels clicking with urgency. Marianne Voss appeared at the end of the corridor like someone running toward a fire she prayed wasn't real. 52. Elegant. Perfect hair. Perfect necklace. But her eyes, when they landed on Aaliyah, widened just enough to betray recognition. "Aaliyah?" Marianne breathed, voice catching. Daniel stepped in immediately, blocking Marianne's line of sight like he could block truth. "Marianne, thank God." This woman forced her way in with a fake invitation and... Marianne's gaze slid around him and locked onto Aaliyah fully. The expression that crossed Marianne's face wasn't confusion. It was horror. Daniel kept talking, piling words like bricks. "She's causing a scene and donors are watching and we can't have." Aaliyah lifted one hand, small, calm. "Not a command. A boundary." "Marianne," Aaliyah said, "I arrived for the Founders Circle meeting at 9:15. Daniel ordered security to remove me before verification." Marianne's throat worked. She turned slowly toward Daniel. "Daniel," she whispered, "what did you do?" Daniel's smile tried to return. "It's fine. She's just..." "Stop," Marianne said, sharper now. The word shocked the corridor into silence. She turned to the attendant. "Which portal did you scan?" General, the attendant said, voice small. Marianne's face tightened. That's not acceptable. She snatched a tablet from her assistant, hands moving fast, slightly shaking, and entered credentials that the attendant didn't have. Then she scanned the QR code herself. The screen loaded. A beat. Then the profile surfaced, hidden behind the wrong portal, protected behind donor privacy. Marianne went pale. Chairwoman Aaliyah Monroe, she read softly, eyes widening. Founder's Circle. Lead sponsor. Private donor identity protected. Daniel's face drained, then flushed hot. No. That can't be. Marianne looked at him like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. You accused the lead sponsor of crashing her own event, she said, voice thin with disbelief. Aaliyah watched Daniel carefully. Not with cruelty. With clarity. Joon-Seo ended his call and slid his phone back into his pocket. A new presence arrived, slower footsteps, heavier authority. Kenji Watanabe, the hotel's general manager, stepped into the corridor. 58. Suit tailored like a uniform of power. His expression was tight with professional alarm. When his eyes landed on Aaliyah, his posture changed immediately, formal, respectful. Ms. Monroe, Kenji said. I apologize. We were not informed you would enter through the main ballroom. Daniel's mouth opened, then closed, as if language had betrayed him. Kenji's gaze moved to the guards. Stand down, he said quietly. Then to Daniel. Sir, Kenji continued, may I see your event credential? Daniel tried to laugh it off. This is ridiculous. I'm on the committee. Kenji didn't blink. Your credential. Now. Daniel hesitated, hand twitching near his jacket. He finally produced the badge. Kenji glanced at it once and handed it to Mr. Ramos. Deactivate access, Kenji said. And escort Mr. Han to the lounge for a conduct review. The words hit Daniel like a slap disguised as policy. Conduct review? Daniel snapped. For what? Protecting the event. Aaliyah's voice was quiet, but it carried. For ordering my removal before verification, she said. For harassment. For implying I'm here under false pretenses. A murmur rippled through the crowd behind them, louder now, shock, discomfort, people realizing what they'd watched. Daniel's voice rose. She walked in like she owned the place. Kenji's gaze sharpened. Ms. Monroe's company is the lead sponsor, he said. This gala is hosted under her partnership agreement with this hotel. Daniel turned, scanning faces for a lifeline. No one did. Aaliyah stepped closer, not aggressive, just inevitable. I didn't walk in like I owned the place, she said. I walked in like I deserved to exist in it. Daniel swallowed. Rage and fear fought behind his eyes. You're doing this to humiliate me, he hissed. Aaliyah's expression didn't change. You humiliated yourself, she replied, the moment you decided my presence needed your permission. Kenji turned to Aaliyah, voice softened with respect. Ms. Monroe, he said, how would you like to proceed? Aaliyah didn't look at the crowd. She didn't need their approval. Bring the contracts to the lounge, she said. And the incident report. Full names. Full timestamps. Daniel's confidence cracked again. Contracts, he muttered. Aaliyah held his gaze. Yes, she said. The ones that determine who remains standing when the night ends. In the lounge, the air smelled like polished wood and silence, private money, private consequences. Aaliyah sat with her back straight, hands folded, yellow fabric bright against the dark leather chair. Kenji placed a folder on the table. Marianne hovered near the door, wringing her hands as if she could undo the last 10 minutes with sheer regret. Daniel refused to sit. He stood, as if sitting would make him smaller. His phone buzzed nonstop, notifications, tags, videos. The humiliation he'd tried to manufacture had turned into evidence. He tried to poison the room with one last tactic. So what now? Daniel sneered. You want me to beg? You want to parade your husband? His eyes flicked to Joon-Seo. Is that why he's here? To intimidate people? Joon-Seo didn't move. His presence felt like a locked door, not because he threatened violence, but because he refused to be baited into it. Aaliyah leaned forward slightly. The funny thing, she said softly, is you always needed me to be allowed to feel powerful. Daniel scoffed. You're not a victim. I'm not, Aaliyah agreed. That's why you're scared. Kenji slid the incident log forward. Mr. Han initiated a removal request prior to verification, he said. Security complied under assumed authority. This is documented. Marianne's voice trembled. Daniel, why would you? Daniel snapped, losing control. Because she doesn't belong. He stopped. Too late. The words hung there, naked. Aaliyah didn't smile. She opened the contract folder and turned it toward him. At the top, in clean lettering, Monroe Meridian Holdings. Daniel stared as if the paper itself insulted him. What is this? He demanded. Aaliyah slid one page across the table with a slow, deliberate push. Read the first paragraph out loud, she said. Eleanor Pike entered like an audit. Silver hair cut with precision. A black gown that looked more like armor than fashion. 60 years old and still carrying the kind of authority that made younger men straighten their posture without knowing why. Her gaze landed on Aaliyah first, steady, respectful, then moved to Daniel as if he were a line item. Ms. Monroe, Eleanor said, voice low but absolute. I'm told there was an incident. Daniel tried to step in fast. Eleanor, it's being exaggerated. She walked in, caused a disruption. Eleanor lifted one hand. Mr. Han, she said, without even looking at his face, you will speak when asked. Kenji set the incident log in front of Eleanor. Mr. Ramos followed with a printed report, timestamps, radio calls, initiating requests, and the name that triggered everything, Daniel Han. Eleanor read quickly. You ordered removal before verification, she said. You did so loudly. You escalated without cause. You implied misconduct. Daniel's jaw flexed. I was protecting the event. You know how it looks when someone... Eleanor looked up. You mean when a black woman enters a room you've decided belongs to you, she said. Don't dress it up as protocol. Silence dropped hard. Aaliyah didn't perform pain. She delivered facts. He blocked me at the entrance, she said. Pointed. Raised his voice. Called security before verification. Suggested I was staff or hired company. When I asked for scanning, he interfered. When I requested the event director, he tried to override it. Kenji cleared his throat. We also have footage, he said. Audio is clear. A compliance officer entered Rita Alvarez holding a tablet. Board Chair Pike, Rita said. We have a complete timeline and video capture from the ballroom entrance, including Mr. Han's verbal instructions. Daniel tried a smaller voice. Eleanor, I made a judgment call. It was a misunderstanding. Eleanor didn't blink. A misunderstanding is confusion, she said. This was confidence. Aaliyah opened the folder again. Read the first paragraph out loud, she repeated. Daniel's eyes moved across the words. His face changed in microsteps, first confusion, then calculation, then a thin crack of fear. Because the first paragraph wasn't about sponsorship amounts. It was about conduct. Discrimination. Harassment. Defamation. Reputational harm. Immediate removal. Financial penalties. Cooperation with investigations. Daniel swallowed, then forced the words out, voice uneven. Any verified incident of discriminatory harassment, public humiliation, or defamatory implication directed at sponsored guests or representatives. His voice faltered. Daniel continued, throat tightening. Shall trigger immediate removal of the offending party from all event privileges and committee roles, along with contractual penalties and mandatory compliance review. He stopped. Eleanor finished it for him, eyes cutting into him. And may result in referral to legal counsel and public correction at the sponsor's discretion. Daniel's hands curled into fists. This is insane, he said. You can't destroy me over one moment. Aaliyah's voice didn't rise. I'm not destroying you, she said. I'm refusing to protect you from what you chose. Daniel snapped his head toward her. You want an apology? In front of everyone? I want you to correct the lie you created, Aaliyah said. Publicly. Eleanor folded her hands. Mr. Han, if Ms. Monroe enforces this clause, the foundation risks losing critical funds. Staff are caught in the blast radius of your ego. Daniel tried to point again, reaching for the old power. This is because she wants to prove something. She wants to humiliate me for what happened years ago. Aaliyah didn't deny the past. I don't need you humiliated, she said. I need you corrected. Correction is permanent. Daniel's phone buzzed again. He answered, desperate. A pause. Then his face drained. Whatever was being said on the other end was short and brutal. He tried to speak. Wait, no, listen. The call ended. Aaliyah's gaze stayed on him, not triumphant, accurate. You're being removed from your firm too, she said. Because they saw the video before you could rewrite it. Daniel's voice cracked. You set me up. Aaliyah shook her head once. You set yourself up, she said. You just didn't know there were cameras. Joon-Seo moved then, just enough to place a sealed envelope on the table. Not thrown. Not slammed. Placed like evidence. Daniel's eyes flicked to it. What is that? Joon-Seo finally spoke. Your last card, he said. Daniel's brow tightened. I don't know who you think you are. I am her husband, Joon-Seo said. The room absorbed it. Daniel's laugh died before it became real. So the rumor is true, he muttered. The Mafia boss. Joon-Seo's eyes didn't change. Rumors are what people use when they don't have facts, he said. Aaliyah turned the envelope slightly so Daniel could see the printed header through the paper, Meridian Han Capital Acquisition Addendum. Daniel's pupils tightened. Your firm was being acquired, Aaliyah said. Tonight. Quietly. Cleanly. You would have profited. Eleanor's voice cut in. Not anymore. You're a liability. Eleanor stood. We return to the ballroom, she said. Mr. Han will make a correction. Then he will be removed from all roles and privileges. Back in the ballroom, Marianne stepped to the microphone, smile trembling. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, before we continue tonight's program, we have a brief acknowledgement. Aaliyah moved toward the stage. Chandeliers lit her like a spotlight. The crowd's whispering died mid-syllable. Phones rose again, but this time not to record a woman being questioned. To record a woman being recognized correctly. She took the microphone with a gentle grip. Good evening, she said. My name is Aaliyah Monroe. A ripple moved through the room. I'm the CEO of Monroe Meridian Holdings, she continued. And I'm honored to support this foundation. Her eyes swept the crowd. Then she turned slightly toward Daniel. Tonight, Aaliyah said, I entered through the main ballroom and was questioned publicly about whether I belonged here. A pause. I asked for verification, she added. And I received assumptions. She angled the mic toward Daniel. Mr. Han, she said. You requested my removal. You implied I was here under false pretenses. Please correct that. Daniel stepped forward like a man walking toward his own reflection. He took the microphone. I made a mistake, he said. He swallowed. Ms. Monroe was invited, he said. She is the lead sponsor. She belongs here. Aaliyah took the microphone back. Thank you, she said, calmly. We will continue tonight's program, Aaliyah said. But effective immediately, this foundation and this property will update VIP verification protocols so no staff member is pressured into humiliating a guest without proper confirmation. Applause rose. Aaliyah didn't soak it in. She nodded once and stepped back. Daniel tried to drift backward into the crowd. He didn't make it 3 steps. Mr. Ramos appeared at his shoulder, voice low, professional. Sir, he said, your access has been revoked. Please come with me. Daniel froze. Aaliyah didn't look back. Because the room had already seen who the problem was, without her ever raising her voice. Outside the ballroom, Daniel's badge was clipped, scanned, logged. His committee access was revoked in writing. Eleanor's assistant collected his materials in a sealed envelope like evidence. No shouting. No spectacle. Just the quiet sound of doors closing behind him. Inside, Aaliyah stepped off the stage and into the same air that had tried to suffocate her minutes ago. The closest staff member, the check-in attendant with the trembling hands, hovered at the edge of the crowd like she wasn't sure she was allowed to be seen. Aaliyah walked to her. You did what you were told, Aaliyah said, voice gentle. That ends tonight. The attendant blinked. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't apologize to me, Aaliyah replied. Apologize to yourself if you ever believe you deserve to be pressured into humiliating someone. Kenji approached with Rita from compliance. We'll implement the VIP verification protocol immediately, Kenji said. New escalation path. No committee override. Aaliyah nodded. And training, she added. Not the kind that lasts one day. The kind that changes instincts. Eleanor exhaled. Done, she said. Marianne stood nearby, eyes wet with the guilt of someone who thought good intentions were enough. Aaliyah. Aaliyah cut her off softly. Next time, believe the woman at the door before you believe the man with the loudest voice. Marianne nodded, swallowing shame. Joon-Seo remained a step behind Aaliyah, the quiet outline of a boundary. He didn't posture for the rumors. He didn't weaponize them. He just stayed present. As the gala resumed, Eleanor returned to the microphone to introduce the night's major announcement. Her tone was controlled, but the room could hear the new gravity. "It is my honor," Eleanor said, "to recognize our lead sponsor and to confirm the partnership that makes tonight's work possible." Aaliyah returned to the stage. This time, no one questioned her. Eleanor handed her a second folder, thin, precise. Aaliyah opened it, flipped one page, and spoke like a woman reading the future out loud. "Tonight," she said, "Monroe Meridian Holdings will finalize the acquisition of Meridian Han Capital's controlling stake and restructure the firm's leadership effective immediately." The room didn't gasp. It froze. Because some people recognized the name. And because others recognized the sound of power when it doesn't ask permission. Aaliyah continued, calm and surgical. "This foundation will receive expanded support under the updated partnership," she said. "And our contracts will include strict protections against discriminatory harassment for guests, for staff, for everyone who enters this space." She didn't look at Daniel. He was already gone. But the room still felt him, like a stain that had been lifted, leaving the fabric cleaner and the lesson brighter. Aaliyah stepped down again, and the crowd parted for her. Not with adoration. With accuracy. In a quieter corridor, her phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize. A message that felt like the next door opening. "He wasn't the only one who mocked you. Want names?" Aaliyah stared at the screen. Around her, laughter floated in from the ballroom like nothing had happened. She thought of the woman at the scanner. She thought of the guards who hesitated because they were trained to obey confidence. She thought of how many rooms had rules that only activated when the wrong person entered. Joon-Seo glanced at her phone, then at her face. "Do you want it?" he asked quietly. Aaliyah's thumb hovered. Not angry. Not shaken. Just clear. She typed 2 words and hit send. "Send them." She slipped the phone back into her clutch. Then she walked back under the chandeliers. Not to prove anything. Only to make sure the next woman in a yellow dress didn't have to.